Hey my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're doing another PlayStation 5 Pro versus Xbox Series X video today. Today's video is going to be Remnant 2. Now, I know what you guys are saying. Yes, I've had to go through and buy a lot of these games on the PlayStation. I'm going to be doing Dragon's Dogma 2 pretty soon as well. But I've went through and I've bought some of these games and we're going to go ahead and look at Remnant 2. Now, this is a slight win for PlayStation 5 Pro. There's some things in here that are going to be better on the Xbox, or not necessarily better, but it's kind of interesting. So there's like a depth of field thing that we're going to look at, as well as some other stuff. I kind of messed up a little bit during the recording on my speed, but the whole PlayStation video is going to be in here just so that you guys can see that as well. And we're going to talk about this and we're going to point out some of this stuff because there's a lot of misconception out there when it comes to these, to the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro. Xbox decided to do their Pro console right at the beginning of the generation. They didn't want to have to deal with a mid-gen refresh later down the road. You can argue that they could have done a little bit better on this overall console, but at this point, from what I've been seeing in a lot of my testing and what you're going to see right now in this video, is that the overall experience that you get from the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro is more along the lines of, like, with the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's more definitely aimed toward that visual experience, but still maintaining that performance. Whereas the Xbox really did nail the performance overall. And for a majority of games out there, it really does compete very strongly with the overall image quality that the Xbox brings to the table. So, it doesn't have a whole lot of checkerboard rendering when it comes to the Xbox Series X. You know, you are relying mostly on, our FSR and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. I don't want this video to drag on forever, but this one was a very interesting one. So let's go ahead, move the camera on over a little bit. Let's go ahead and click play on the video, and we're going to talk through this. So as we start off, you can obviously see that the left side is the Xbox. You see the plant kind of blur in a little bit late. Overall, the image quality is pretty dang like for like. You can kind of see a little bit more texture on the PlayStation side. If you look at the PlayStation side, it does look a little bit more textured. Obviously, the color palette is a little bit darker. That's just due to the way that PlayStation produces its deep color. Versus, HDR for the Xbox version. Obviously, Xbox looks a little brighter. The PlayStation definitely looks a little bit more contrasty. So a lot of people are going to technically like that look or the other. It just depends on you and your overall taste. Now, the first big thing is you're going to notice is the smoke effect on the Xbox is going to be a lot more smoky. Obviously, a little bit of pixelization in there. On the PlayStation side, you can kind of see that the depth of field. See how there's more smoke on the Xbox side still. It's just a little bit thicker smoke. But the depth of field, I feel, looks better on the PlayStation 5. You see right here, over here, where the ground looks blurry on PS5, but that looks sharp. Whereas on the Xbox, it didn't really contrast the two as much. It was there wasn't a whole lot of blur on the ground when it comes to the Xbox. You can pause that and re-look at that part. You can kind of see that, like, the blurry background on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I feel like it does a little bit better job at blurring out the background, and that's kind of what you want with that look, is you want that blurry background so it contrasts the overall image that you're looking at, and it really brings that better into focus. You see the bushes behind them, you can see that there's a little bit more detail on the Xbox, whereas on the PlayStation it definitely looked a little bit more blurry right there. Now we're going to get into, like, actual me controlling the camera. I'm just going to try to maintain smoothness throughout this. I don't know how I keep messing up. I recorded the PlayStation version first, the Xbox first, second. Well, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of difference, like pop in or anything like that. You can see that it pretty much remains pretty much stable the whole way through. Obviously, PlayStation has a more contrasty look. The Xbox, on the other hand, is more it's more, it looks more bright in a lot of areas. So a lot of people, I think a lot of people are going to prefer that contrasty look, especially on this game right here. As we pan the camera, you can kind of see this is where everything went awry for me. One of them I was panning much faster on the PlayStation, and I couldn't remember how fast I was panning. Yeah, that was crazy. So it took me a minute, but it's weird because even though I spend faster on the PlayStation, I started walking faster on the Xbox. LOL. So if you look at it, even though the cameras are going to be a little bit different now, you can still see that the overall image quality is intact. But the one thing that you are going to notice is that the Xbox is definitely probably running this at a little bit lower resolution, whereas the PlayStation 5 seems to be cranking that up a little bit more. It looks a little bit more defined in the overall texture work and stuff like that. So that's why I call this one here kind of a slight win for the PlayStation 5, is because unless you have these side by side, like when I was playing through both of these, I was like, because I played through the PlayStation first and then I played through the Xbox, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks identical. And then it wasn't until you like really start to see stuff side by side that you tend to get more of like a, oh, okay, I see it. You'll definitely see that the image quality on the Xbox is just a little bit softer, but it still doesn't really take away from the overall image quality. Whereas on the PlayStation 5 Pro, you're definitely getting a lot more. You're definitely getting a lot more like sharpness in the image that kind of defines, you know, things a little bit better. I do like how they both have a softer fall off and they're not just crispy sharp. I love that about freaking these two consoles. I love how the PlayStation 5 Pro has been able to adopt that. If you look at the building way in the back, you'll notice the shimmering on the corner or whatever on both consoles. They both kind of shimmer like that. I was looking at that and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see it on the PS5, I can see it on the Xbox. So I was just like, okay, yeah, that looks pretty much the same, because I feel like I noticed it more on the Xbox version, a little bit more of the shimmering, whereas on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I didn't really notice as much shimmering. So as we spin the camera, you know, look at everything, you know, like the pop-in or anything like that, doesn't really look like that. There's not a whole lot of aliasing or anything else going on over here on the Xbox version. Whereas on the PlayStation 5, we'll get over here and we'll do like the camera spin, but that's going to shoot back into full screen for you guys so that you guys can actually look at that. So as we walk up here and we stop and we look around, we're not really seeing like a whole lot of pop-in. I mean, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. It's not really exhibiting the whole nanite or anything like that. It's just, it's built on Unreal Engine 5, but it does rely on older technology. That's why they can squeeze a little bit more performance out of this one. But as you can see with this, the PlayStation 5 version does tend to be a little bit sharper in the overall quality of what this game has to offer. So when I was looking at this and I was playing through this and I was looking at this, I was coming through it and I was looking at all the different types of the image quality, how the things stack up together, how performance felt. Performance was smooth on both of them, and I didn't have any issues with like jankiness or anything like that. It was a really smooth experience. I feel like the farther you get into Remnant 2, though, there were some areas that the Xbox Series X definitely exhibited, you know, a little bit more of that, of the performance dropping. So I'd have to play more into PS5 Pro to make sure that performance definitely stays like that. But for the most part, like the image quality, the overall stability of gameplay and stuff, from what I've played just on the Series X version, is the VRR on the Xbox definitely made that experience like really smooth. So I didn't really notice it, but you could tell sometimes that like obviously the frame rate was coming down, but overall it was a pretty smooth experience. I played a lot on the Xbox version, to be completely honest with you. And then on the PlayStation version, like so far, it just feels pretty smooth. I'm definitely planning on playing a little bit more into this so I can get a little bit better understanding of how it's actually going to run and feel on the PlayStation 5 Pro. But from what I've seen, it actually feels like pretty dang smooth. So this is something that I would chalk up as, don't completely don't write the Series X off just yet, my friends. Let's see what newer games are going to come out, because I kind of have a feeling that the PlayStation 5 Pro existing is actually going to allow developers to squeeze more out of Series X, whereas before, PlayStation being the lead platform that everybody developed on, they were more likely to just build for PS5 and then port to Xbox. So now that we actually have a stronger system in the PlayStation lineup, we should start to see those benefits roll over to Xbox Series X as well, and maybe tap into some of them other features, you know, like VRS and some of the other stuff that is available. All of these are upscaling techniques though, my friend. So definitely the inclusion of FSR4 probably around the first of the year. Xbox should be able to utilize that. I think the Xbox is good for like 90 something tops or something, whereas PlayStation 5 Pro is good for 300 tops. Depending on how it works, if they're using WMMA to utilize, you know, FSR for upscaling for Xbox Series X, we might actually be able to utilize a little bit of that, maybe get a little bit of advantage out of that in overall image quality, as opposed to just performance. I would think that anything that's going to come from that is going to be more performance related, or visual related when it comes to that, as opposed to like performance wise. So I'm excited about the future of these two consoles, at least for the next few years. We're going to be able to see some exciting stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the developers can do with that extra power that the PlayStation 5 Pro has, and be able to, you know, translate that over to Xbox. Because in a lot of my testing, I've seen the Xbox doing very well, holding up very well to a lot of these games, and I've seen the PS5 Pro easily closing that gap on some other games like Far Cry 6 and other titles. Like, I've been trying to do Far Cry 6 video, going through there, and like I see literally zero difference now. It's so good on both of them that like I'm like, wow, if I put a side by side up, people are just gonna accuse me of doing the same game or something. So yeah, guys, it's looking pretty good. I'm actually very surprised to see Xbox Series X holding up very well. I'm actually quite surprised to see how this is actually going. So if you guys like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's other games you want to see, definitely hit me up and let me know if there's something in there. Somebody wanted to see Battlefield 5. I threw a Battlefield 5 video up real quick. So yeah, I want to take a look at some of this stuff, and I want to do some more content, because this is actually getting pretty exciting to see how these two juggernauts trade blows with each other, with the Xbox Series X being 4 years old and PS5 Pro being pretty much brand new. Like, this is interesting, man. This is very interesting, and I wouldn't completely write the Xbox Series off just yet. So, all right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.